I am sure sports. You know me there, from coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get the sports over here from near and far. Boy, 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 boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know no game play, that me not say it. If me never see no game, me not know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here. So, for the day done, you are gonna love over your son.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crap of players. We are good enough. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment, let me know what your thoughts are.
Hello. Good afternoon to you all in internet land. Again, we are here on I Am Sure Sports, and my name is Pioneer, and we are here with another round of what we call around the NBA. This is where we give you the most credible analysis of happenings in the National Basketball Association. We give you game analysis. We give you analysis on players. We give you analysis on statistics, on series, and situations, relating to teams around the National Basketball Association, more popularly known as the NBA. All right, and we had an episode yesterday. We're having one again today, and we'll have episodes daily in some cases, and sometimes we might skip a day and we might go every other day, dependent on what's happening around the league. Now, we had some games last night, interesting games. Most notably, there was a game between the Portland Trail Blazers and the Los Angeles Lakers. The importance of this game was because the situation of how the teams sat on the standings in the Western Conference. All right. What was happening is that the Lakers were sitting in 9th, and the Portland Trail Blazers were in 10th. They were at the time 2.5 games behind the Lakers, and if Portland had won that game, they would have closed the gap on the Lakers. Possibly, if results would have gone their way in some future games, they might have relegated the Lakers to 10th position, which, as we know, is the final position in the standing when it comes down to the play-in tournament. The format is 9th and 10th get to play off with 7th and 8th for the play-in. What happened in that game is that the Los Angeles Lakers came out winners. It was a hard-fought game. Great defensive intensity in that game. Low-scoring game, I might add. None of the teams ended up over 100 points. Lakers scored 99 points to the Trailblazers 94 points. Anthony Davis had one of his regular good games for the Los Angeles Lakers. He actually scored 30 points and had 15 rebounds. It was a hard-fought game. Norman Powell was big for the Trailblazers. He was their leading scorer last night. He actually had 30 points also. The Portland Trail Blazers, as we know right now, is playing without Damian Lillard. I said that yesterday in yesterday's podcast. But it was a good game all around, and I watched the game live, and I thoroughly enjoyed the game. Russell Westbrook continue to have his shooting struggles for the Los Angeles Lakers. He was better on defense last night, I must add, which is where he normally struggles mightily. He was efficient, I would say, on defense last night. He was a point shy of a triple-double. Poor shooting night. I think he shot 25% from the field, and I think was 1 of 6 from the 3-point range. He had 9 points. He had 13 assists and 10 rebounds. But the Lakers won that game. They have now moved to being 2 games under 500. They were actually 3 games under 500. They had actually broke a losing streak that they had going. So all in all, it's not roses for the Lakers, but that win last night would have done their chances of making it up the standing in the Western Conference some amount of good. They continue to play without LeBron James, who is out with a knee injury. We understand that he has some swelling in his knee, and that is affecting his participation for his Los Angeles Lakers team. There is no timeline, there's no given timeline on his return, but we continue to watch what's happening. The Lakers, as they stand now, are 25 and 27 on the season. That is what 52 games out of an 82 game season, with 30 games left. It is left to see how Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook and the rest of the troops can galvanize themselves, and how far they will be, how well they'll be doing, to see how far up the Western Conference standing they can end up, possibly trying to get themselves as high as 6th to see if they could avoid the play-in tournament. It just happens that they also have a game tonight. Tonight, they have the Los Angeles Derby, where they will be playing the Clippers. All right, so it's the LA Showdown tonight. The Clippers themselves are a little bit short-handed. They are without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So this should be an interesting one tonight. That game is on at 10 o'clock for those who are interested in watching. Also on tonight is the Golden State Warriors versus the Sacramento Kings. Golden State should have back Steph Curry. They are at home tonight. They should have back Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins. All indications is that Golden State is trying to finish at top of the West. The Phoenix Suns occupy that position. But Golden State continues to plug away. The thing is that Phoenix is on a winning streak. Phoenix is proving to be, as I said yesterday, the best team in the NBA at this time. They have a well-rounded squad. They are led by Chris Paul and Devin Booker. They have people like Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder. They have retooled their bench. They have added 2 quality big men in JaVale McGee and Bismack Biyombo, and it's serving them quite well. So interesting days ahead. Also on the games for tonight, we have the Phoenix Suns, who will be away to the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks have been trying to rally themselves. They have found themselves in somewhat of a precarious position where they are sitting in 10th, having made the Eastern Conference semifinal last year. They now find themselves in 10th place in the East with a record of 24 and 26. So they are in need of wins to try and get themselves, out of that position. They are now only a half game ahead of the Washington Wizards, who is in 11th at 24 and 27. So you get the feeling that Phoenix, the Atlanta Hawks, will be going for a win tonight against this amazing Phoenix Suns side. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a look at the MVP race. The MVP race so far this season. When the season started out, all indications were that Steph Curry, with the amazing numbers he was putting up, some persons had already declared him as MVP for the season. As we all know, it's an 82-game season. It makes no sense making a declaration or even a prediction with 20 or 30 games gone in a season, because the season is just getting started at that time. As things have panned out, we have seen other persons who have come to the fore and have surpassed Steph in the standings. For me, the clear MVP leader right now would be Joel Embiid. Next for me would be the reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic. I'm seeing a comment here where somebody's disagreeing with me about the Phoenix Suns. This is Demo Grant. Demo Grant is telling me that it's Memphis Grizzlies that he thinks is the best team in the NBA. Demo Grant, the Memphis Grizzlies is playing great basketball. They have a nice young core, as I said yesterday, but I'm disagreeing with you. The Phoenix Suns, who are indeed the Western Conference champions, they represented the West last year, and the facts are that they have the best record in the NBA at this time. They have the best record also, Demo, by some distance. All right, they are 41-9 on the season. First team to 40 wins this season. They have completed 50 games. They sit 3 games clear of the Golden State Warriors, who are in third. They're actually 7 games clear of the Memphis Grizzlies. So, you know, it's undoubted, it's unarguable that the Phoenix Suns, as it stands right now, they are playing like the best team in basketball, and they are indeed the best team in basketball at this time. So, you know, I wouldn't argue that, Demo. The season has 32 games in their case left. The Memphis Grizzlies, young team, spirited team. I like Ja Morant. I think, I'm talking about the MVP race, I think Ja Morant is one of those persons who I have in contention. My top 5 contenders at this time for the MVP race would be Joel Embiid as the front runner for me, Nikola Jokic, as I said before, who I have in second place. I would have Giannis Antetokounmpo in third right now. Ja Morant for me would be fourth. And in fifth, I would make a distinction. I would have a 3-way tie between Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and LeBron James right now as the fifth person for MVP. There are persons like DeMar DeRozan who have been playing great basketball. He has been leading Chicago Bulls. They too have an amazing record. They are atop of the East right now, 32-18, a 1-game lead over the Heat right now in the East. So DeMar DeRozan for me deserves some amount of consideration for the MVP race. With 30 games or so or thereabout leaving in the season, we'll see how it pans out. Embiid for me is the leader because right now this Philadelphia 76ers is sitting at third in the East. His numbers are proving it. He has been on a tear. They are playing without their second star, who would be Ben Simmons, and he's leading basically his troops solo. They were without one of their point guards, Seth Curry, for a point in the season. They have been playing short-handed. So and Embiid has been playing at a very high level on both ends of the court. He has been leading his teams on the offensive end, and as you know, he plays great defense. I recently heard some arguments about the best big man in the NBA, and for me, that distinction goes to Joel Embiid without any question. There's no argument that at this time, with health, Joel Embiid is actually, for me, the best big man in the NBA. So, as I said, I have Embiid atop of the MVP race right now. About the season, things can still happen. Teams can make a run. Steph Curry at this time is in a shooting slump. He has not had the best month in January. He had 1 game 2 games ago where he had 40 points. But outside of that, he has been blowing hot and cold, and mostly cold more than hot. So he still can, with 30 games left in his season, he still has a chance to redeem himself and probably push himself further up the MVP race. Considering that his team is sitting close to the top of the West, it might argue well for him with the MVP voters come that time. All right. I want to take a look also at some of the teams that we might be contending for a playoff spot come playoff time. As we know, the All-Star break comes up in another week and a half, 2 weeks. And after the All-Star break, then we're looking to the back end of the regular season, and teams will be jostling for playoff spots. Now, as it stands right now, looking at the East, you have teams like the New York Knicks, who are in 12th with a record of 24-8. They are called what, four places outside of playoff contention. There are 4 places outside of 6th place right now, or 7th place right now, that is occupied by the Charlotte Hornets. So the East, as I said yesterday, gentle folks, there is a cluster of teams that are jostling for playoff positioning in the East, as it stands. Between first in the East and 12th in the East is separated by only 9 games. So the standings could change quite quickly. When the season started, we saw a team like the Washington Wizards very close to the top of the East. And right now they are sitting, I think, in the space of about 3 weeks, they have fallen to 11th because they have been having some bad records. In their last 10 games, they have lost 7 games, 7 of their last 10 games. And now they're sitting at 11th in the East. New York Knicks is 12th. The Atlanta Hawks, as I mentioned earlier, who was in the conference semifinal last year, are all the way down in 10th with 24 and 26 record. This Boston Celtics, who is another team that a lot of persons were looking for great things from. They have had their 2 young stars for some time now. I'm talking about Brown and Jason Tatum. Both gentlemen have been playing good basketball this year, but their team has been in some struggle. They are sitting in 9th. At one point they were as far down as 12th. They have been making a resurgence in recent times. They are on their way up. They have won 7 of their last 10 games. They are presently sitting in 9th. The Toronto Raptors, which is another team that a lot of persons are looking to, they are not the most talented team, but the core of their team with people like Pascal Siakam and Fred Van Fleek and OG Anunoby, this team has been together for a while. They have good chemistry. They're a well-coached team. Persons have been expecting them to, do well in the East. They are sitting in 8th place. The Charlotte Hornets, a nice young team being led by Mikal Bridges and LaMelo Ball. I like this team. Actually, for those who know the NBA, know that the Charlotte Hornets is actually owned by the GOAT himself, Michael Jordan. They have been showing promise, but they have been a little bit, for me, they have been a little disappointing in recent times. They have in their last 10 games, they are 5-5 record. They have lost some games that I had them winning in the last couple of days. And they presently sit in the 7th position in the East, trying to position themselves, out of the play-in tournament and trying to get in the playoffs. The team that has seen probably the biggest fall in recent times in the NBA is the Brooklyn Nets. They lost again last night. They have found themselves, since Kevin Durant has gotten injured, they have found themselves falling from the top of the East to now being as far down as 6th in the East. You'd say they are comfortable, fairly comfortable in 6th place. They have a 2-game lead over the Hornets. They have a 29-22 record right now. But with Kyrie Irving only being able to play away games, he actually played last night in that loss. I think they lost to the Kings. And I said this yesterday in yesterday's podcast. I'm detecting, and I watched highlights of the game last night. I'm detecting a lack of chemistry, and I don't know if this has anything to do with Kyrie's being in and out of the team, but I'm detecting a lack of chemistry with the Brooklyn Nets team. James Harden is their front man. He has been there, the most consistent of the three big names that have been there. He has played the most game. When I say being most consistent, I'm talking about being consistent in being in the starting lineup. He has had probably what has been in recent times his worst season in terms of his shooting percentages, his stats, his shooting percentages, and even his points per game. He is down this year compared to previous years. They have not been looking great. We don't have a timeline on Durant's comeback. I think that will be critical to their fortunes on the season. Persons have been clamoring to see this big three together get going. From they have been put together last year. We have watched this team wondering what could be if they could get the chemistry right and if this team could get going. Last year, at points in the season, we got glimpses of that, and persons liked how it looked. This season, because of Kyrie's vaccination status, we have yet to see all three on the court at one time in a constant rhythm. Durant is out with injuries now. We see Kyrie and James Harden. One night Kyrie is hot, the next night he's cold. Last night he didn't have his best night last night. I think he only scored what was it? He's had only 14 points last night, 1 assist, 3 rebounds in 37 minutes of basketball. It wasn't his best night at all. James Harden last night had only 4 points. Quite disappointing. In 37 minutes of basketball, 4 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds. A disappointing performance by the big two, by the two of the big three. So with these kind of struggles, and when I watch the games, people, as I said, what I'm detecting is, a lack of chemistry in this Brooklyn Nets team. The East is being led at this time by the Chicago Bulls. A very good Bulls team. Has been consistent throughout the season, have had their own struggles. They are 5-5 in their last 10 games, but has been consistently atop or in the first 2 or 3 places in the East from the start of the season. They had some bad form in recent times. They played a portion of their season without Zach LaVine. Since he has been back, they have been making a resurgence. I think they will be there or thereabout in the East and should be making some noise in the playoff. As I stated yesterday, for me, the most dangerous team in the Eastern Conference is the Miami Heat. Good team. Very, very, very good team. Expecting to get back some very big pieces in the coming days or coming weeks. Talking about people like Kyle Lowry, talking about people like Victor Oladipo, to go with a Bam Adebayor and Jimmy Butler. The Miami Heat are going to take some beating in the Eastern Conference. The Philadelphia 76ers, as I said, short-handed as they are, playing good basketball, sits in third in the Eastern Conference, people. And the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks occupies fourth in the standing. The Milwaukee Bucks has a record of 32 and 21 at this time. They have been up and down. I've seen them losing games to in what I'd consider inferior opponents. You get the feeling that these Bucks, being defending champions, these gentlemen are cruising their way through the season and positioning themselves for the postseason. It's hard to lift yourself as defending champions, for a regular season, a 82-game season. So sitting at fourth, they are well positioned. I think if they finish in the top 4, in the East, they will be comfortable with themselves. So let's see what happens. The young Cleveland Cavaliers team, they occupy the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference. Good team, good young team. They have had some impressive wins in the season. They have been doing well. Last night they lost for me a heartbreak, a game that I expected them to win. They were playing the Houston Rockets on the road. I expected them to win that game. They lost. I actually watched that game and was a little bit disappointing, for me to see the young stars, some young stars that I've grown to have great admiration from. People like Mobley and Garland. Garland didn't play last night. People like Jared Allen, who are proving to be young and upcoming stars in the league. I was a little disappointed, as I said last night, but they are well positioned in 5th for a young team. They should be in the playoff contention, and let's see what they will do come playoff time. I've had some discussions recently about the Golden State Warriors, and I'm going to elaborate a little more on something that I stated yesterday about the Golden State Warriors' need for a quality big man. And for me, I am entertaining the thought of a trade by the Golden State Warriors team in order to facilitate plugging a gap that I think that could be an Achilles heel for them come playoff time. As I stated yesterday, James Wiseman, who was the 2nd pick in the draft last year, should be coming back soon. Based on what I have seen of Wiseman, I don't know if he's what I would call playoff ready. All right, I am banking on the Golden State Warriors, trading him for someone who I think would do better come playoff time. All right. A person like a Miles Turner for me would be a perfect fit for the Golden State Warriors. He's a quality shot blocker. He shoots the tree at a very efficient clip. I think he shoots it at 41% right now on the season. Paired with a Draymond Green in the Golden State front court, I think it would almost make the Golden State Warriors team for me unbeatable. All right. A lineup of Wiseman, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Andrew Wiggins for me, with people like Jordan Poole, Otto Porter Jr., Peyton Jr., Peyton II, Bielitsa, Juan Toscano Anderson, Damian Lee. For me, that's almost like an unbeatable team right there. The Warriors at this time is deficient in the center position. As I said, it is my thought that they could, they could be exploited come playoff time if they don't plug this hole. It's left to see what Wiseman can do when he comes back. Based on the last time I saw him last year, I don't think he's ready for that big time. All right, and I hope that explains. I've had a lot of conversations with persons in recent times about, this Golden State Warriors team and what they could be. I think the Golden State Warriors team, if they fix this deficiency, could win the trophy this year. All right, it's left to be seen. As I say, for me, it's a toss-up at this time between the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. If both teams are healthy, I don't see either of them getting beaten before the conference finals this year in the playoff. All right? And let me take a look at some of the games that we have on tonight around the association. First game I'll be looking at. And for the people who want to, bet, you might consider these to be, some betting tips. Darren Fox. No, Darren Fox. Big Star Pioneer. All right, big up Gunners, boss. I know that is you, Pine Action. Big up yourself, Bridget. Glad to know you're here. All right, welcome forward. You know, feel free, man, to interact, man. And soon on this very podcast and this show, the show that we call Around the NBA, we'll be entertaining calls like I see Manning's doing in other shows. So we're just establishing this, this segment of the program around the NBA as we go down beyond the All-Star break and going closer to the playoff when the intensity heats up in the league. We'll be, as I said, we'll be doing this show, if not daily, we'll be doing it every other day. And at times we'll be entertaining calls. We will be wanting to interact with, with the fans and to be getting your views as to the teams and the players that you are fancying going into the playoffs. All right. So as I said, we are going to be looking at some games that are going to be on tonight. And as I said, for the people who are gamblers, you can consider this my official gambling tips for you. The first game tonight on is the Pistons versus the Timberwolves. I am loving this Timberwolves team, led by Karl Anthony Towns, a quality big man, one of the better big men in the league today. All right, and with the youngster Anthony Edwards, for me, one of the future stars in the NBA, is a fire. For me, is a fire starter. I am picking the Timberwolves to go on the road and get the better of the Detroit Pistons. There are some persons who think that this Piston team is tanking. I don't know how true that is. They sit close to the bottom of the standings. But this Minnesota Timberwolves team are trying to get themselves into playoff contention. They have had some amount of success in recent times. Let me check and tell you where they are sitting in the standings as we speak. They have been trying to work their way up the standings. The Timberwolves are now sitting at 7th, actually, in the West. They have a record of 26-5. They are top of teams like the Clippers and the Lakers. So for tonight's game versus the Detroit Pistons, I'm picking the Minnesota Timberwolves to come away with a comfortable win. All right. The second game on tonight is the Miami Heat's away to the Spurs. Now, this young San Antonio Spurs team, as we know, coached by Greg Popovich, they are a team that has sprung a few surprises this season. I actually watched a game where they came into Golden State and beat Golden State on their home court with people like Steph Curry and Draymond Green playing. They are way down on the standing. They are sitting in 12th. All right. The last game I watched them in, they were defeated by the bench, basically, of the Golden State Warriors team. They had a 17-point lead on Golden State, and Golden State, led by people like Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga, came back and defeated them. Against the Miami Heat tonight, I give them very little chance. I'm picking Miami to go into San Antonio tonight and defeat the Spurs. I think the most interesting game on tonight for me is the Phoenix Suns versus the Atlanta Hawks. For persons who have access and can watch a game tonight, if you choose to watch a game, I would suggest you watch this Hawks game. It's on at 7:30. The Suns are on an 11-game winning streak. The Hawks are at home. As I said earlier, they are trying to work their way up the standings. I think the Suns' winning streak might end tonight. It's going to be, I'm giving a 50-50 chance. It's going to be a close game for me. Phoenix is playing amazing basketball, people. Anything could happen, but I'm leaning towards the winning streak ending tonight and the Atlanta Hawks coming away with a win. The Hawks have a well-rounded team led by Trae Young. He has been up and down in the season. Some persons are thinking that he should be in the MVP conversation. For me, he plays on one side of the court, and that is why I would have relegated him out as a contender in my MVP top 10 or top spots. All right, so Let's see what happens tonight between the Hawks and the Suns. I'm picking the Hawks in a close game to win over the Suns. The next game on tonight is the Raptors at home to the Bulls. I'm going with the Toronto Raptors tonight at home. Should be another good game. Should be another close game, people. These are two teams that have been doing well on the season. The Bulls sit at top of the East. The Raptors are trying to work their way up the standings. But they're at home, and Toronto normally does well at home. So I'm picking the Raptors to beat the Bulls at home tonight. The Golden State Warriors are hosting the Kings tonight. With the return of Steph Curry, on the back of the last game where they sat their starters and the bench basically did the job against the Spurs. Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins, who is an all-star starter, returning tonight. I'm seeing the Golden State Warriors putting on a show at home tonight versus the Sacramento Kings. I'm looking for, some stellar defense, and I'm looking for them to put up a lot of points. I think this might be a blowout. All right, I'm looking for great things from my team, the Golden State Warriors, tonight versus the Sacramento Kings. The final game that is on tonight, people, is the aforementioned Los Angeles derby between the Los Angeles Clippers and the Los Angeles Lakers. Both teams are a little short-handed. What makes this matchup even more interesting also is that on the standings, the Clippers are sitting a little bit above the Lakers. They actually have a half a game lead over the Lakers. So this should be an interesting matchup. Both teams tussling for the 8th spot. If the Lakers should win tonight, they'll see themselves getting into the 8th spot and pushing the Clippers down the order. Clippers wins tonight, they separate themselves a little more from the Lakers. And if the Timberwolves were to lose tonight, the Clippers would automatically slide into the 7th spot in the West. So this should be an interesting game. My pick for the game would be the LA Lakers. They are in need of these wins. You get the feeling that there's an air of desperation that is surrounding this Lakers team right now. They cannot afford to slide too far down this standing. They might see themselves getting out of, the playoff picture, or too far down the playing picture, which will mean they will have some very difficult playing games to contend with, and then having to contend with either the Golden State Warriors or the Phoenix Suns. Both of those teams being healthy, I give LA Lakers, even with LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Westbrook healthy, I give them little or no chance against the Phoenix Suns or the Golden State Warriors. So you get the feeling that the Los Angeles Lakers are in a little bit of a desperate position to get some wins. And tonight, they will need to try and get this win against the Clippers. I'm going with the Lakers to win tonight. Looking for a big game from Anthony Davis. I don't know if this is the second night of a back-to-back, if he will actually be playing. I haven't seen any team news yet, but if he's playing, I'm looking for a big game from him. Should be some fireworks in the, what's the name? Not the Staples Center anymore, the Crypto.com Center. So that's a game to look forward to, gentle folks. I'm gonna just take a look at a few of the comments that I'm seeing here. Let me take this one from Warren Webster. Okay, Warren Webster, you're saying that DeMar DeRozan coming home plays well against. Oh, yeah. DeRozan will be back in Toronto tonight, people. That should be interesting. He kind of left the Raptors, you could say, unceremoniously. And since he went to the Spurs from the Raptors, but since he has been in Chicago, he has been balling, I must say. DeMar DeRozan has been balling since he has been in Toronto. Good player. Still yet to prove himself in the playoff. I think that with this Chicago team, he will have the kind of cast that will allow him, to make some noise or prove his worth in the playoff team. Zach LaVine has come to the fore. He has developed well, and I like Vucevic. Good squad. All right, very, 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 very good squad at the Chicago Bulls. Let me see. Let me take another comment here. And again, it's a big up Gunners, boss. Fine action, I know that is here. Suns. Let me see. Suns. Gunners, boss. It's a Suns is your early pick. Suns is your early pick. Suns. Is playing some good basketball. Nobody can deny the Suns. There is something to be made, of a team that is together for a while. And the Phoenix Suns has had this core. From I remember in the bubble, they won 8 games straight in that playing, leading up to the playing in the bubble, but still didn't get a chance to make the playing tournament. All right. I think that was like a blueprint for them coming into last season, and you see how that translated into last season. Them making the NBA finals, them finishing, as Western Conference champion. So you get the feeling that the chemistry between people like Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, what's the other Cam? That synergy. And Chris Paul going there last year, as a leader, did a lot for that young team. They are for me, they are playing some of the best basketball I've seen. They kind of remind me of the San Antonio Spurs of old. Well coached by Monty Williams, playing good basketball, playing as a unit, great ball movement, great chemistry, good on defense. They're a complete team. And as I said, when you look at that team, you see little or no deficiencies in their team. They have retooled. Last year, DeAndre Ayton got a little exposed by Giannis in the final. They have retooled their big man position. They have brought in JaVale McGee, who is a good rim protector. So you get that feeling now that with that reinforcement, since they have brought in McGee, they made a move. They got Bismack Biyombo, who is another quality big man, even though he's only 6'10". He plays big, plays as a center. So, they will have more bodies to throw at a person like a Giannis if they were to meet again this year. So as I said, for me, this is probably the whole team in terms of a complete team. I think the Golden State roster is a little deeper. They go a little further. But in terms of quality players at every position, I think this Phoenix Suns team, they tick all the boxes, and it should take some beating. And as I said before, I'm looking for the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors. We'll be here again, gentle folks, on Saturday. We'll be reviewing some of the results of tonight's game. I'll be looking at how my predictions actually panned out. And we'll be looking also at the games that will be on tomorrow, Friday, when we meet here again on Saturday. And we'll continue, to look around the NBA. We'll give our analysis based on how we see things going in the league. As I said, we'll get to the point in short order. We will be probably taking calls in this segment of the I Am Sure podcast. As I said, people, continue to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. No biases. All biases aside, I think I Am Sure in recent times have been one of the more credible channels, providing a myriad of quality sporting content. I love what Mannings is doing with his with the football. He has basically covered interviews for all the most of the Jamaican footballers of old, and even some of the young ones, and continues to strive. People continue to share the channel, tell people about I Am Sure Sports, and help us to grow. For another section of Around the NBA, I'm Pioneer, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Do you have yourself a good one? As I say, enjoy tonight's games, and we'll meet here again on Saturday, where we'll discuss happenings around the NBA.